I'm back, just in time to talk about what might be the most anticipated movie of 2022, so let's just jump right into it. Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for The Batman, which is directed by Matt Reeves, and is, if we're counting theatrically released feature films since 1989, the fourth reboot of the iconic Caped Crusader from DC Comics. So being another reboot of Batman, we get a new interpretation of the character. This time he's played by Robert Pattinson, and this movie takes place in Batman's second year. He's still relatively new to being Batman, and has yet to figure out how to properly balance out his two personas, Batman and Bruce Wayne. And to add even more complications to how Bruce Wayne functions in the world now that he's taken on this Batman persona, he has to track down this psychotic killer known as the Riddler, who keeps leaving these clues for Batman. And joining him on this murder mystery is Jim Gordon, played by Jeffrey Wright, and Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman, played by Zoë Kravitz. Now, if you remember back in the early days of the DC Extended Universe, and by early days I mean Man of Steel had been out for a while and Batman vs. Superman was just around the corner, Ben Affleck was the newest Batman at the time. And because he had a good working relationship with Warner Brothers, they signed him on to direct a movie called The Batman. And it was pretty much gonna be his movie. He would star in it and write and direct it. But as we all know, Warner Brothers really screwed the pooch when it came to building a DC universe, to the point where Ben Affleck kind of had enough of being Batman. I know he's going to be in The Flash later this year, but in terms of his Batman movie, he left as director. Matt Reeves came in and replaced him. And then I think around the time that Justice League was about to come out, it was confirmed that the Batman was not going to be connected to the DC Extended Universe, and that they were going to get a completely new actor to play him. And with that, we have Robert Pattinson as our new Batman, which seemed like a really good choice because Robert Pattinson has certainly proved himself to be a great actor. And for those of you who still want to hold Twilight against him, I mean, come on, that series ended 10 years ago. Just move the hell on. And plus, nobody hates Twilight more than Robert Pattinson himself, so he knows, guys. And everyone was really excited for this movie. I myself, not so much. I mean, I figured it was going to be a good movie because Matt Reeves, even though I wasn't a huge fan of Cloverfield, I did like it, all things considered. And his two Apes movies, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes, are fantastic. So, especially after seeing War for the Planet of the Apes, I thought, this guy has got the Batman down. But at the same time, I just don't feel like DC does anything really fresh and unique with the Batman character. I mean, they've gotten better at introducing newer DC characters or making movies based on those who haven't really gotten that much attention. But let's be honest, Warner Brothers and DC milk this character more than any other character in their lineup, even more than Superman. And before anyone gets in the comments by saying, oh, well, Spider-Man does the same thing over and over again, I'm like, no, not really. The last Spider-Man movie was unique because it played around with the multiverse, and we saw Tom Holland interact with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. And Into the Spider-Verse not only was a very beautiful and unique animated movie, but it focused on the other Spider-Man, Miles Morales. This movie is very much another Batman movie revolving around Bruce Wayne. And yeah, it's a detective mystery, but we saw a little bit of that in The Dark Knight. Before I delve more into the movie, I don't want any of you out there thinking that I went into this movie with a negative thought, because I didn't. I just wasn't excited for it the way everyone else was. And the first hour of this movie, because it's nearly 3 hours long, I thought was just so boring. Not that it was bad, but it really felt like everything I've seen before involving Batman. Now, the first 15 minutes of the movie, where we're introduced to this new incarnation of Batman and where we set up the Riddler as a villain, I think is fantastic. The new Look of Gotham is incredible. When Batman first shows up to beat down these guys, it's intense. The action is very well filmed and well choreographed. It's a great introduction, but everything else in this first hour just didn't really do it for me. It's like, okay, I've seen this all before, but done better in other Batman movies, specifically The Dark Knight. The best moments of that first hour involve Zoë Kravitz as Selina Kyle, who I think is a fantastic Catwoman. She has fantastic chemistry with Robert Pattinson's Batman. She really does embody that character in the sense that she's a thief with a heart of gold. And I just enjoyed every moment she was on screen. And as for Robert Pattinson, he makes for a really good Batman, not so much a great Bruce Wayne. I mean, we'll see what he does in future movies because there's no way this is just gonna be a one-off. But when it comes to him as Bruce Wayne, I thought he was really one note. And I just found him to be a pretty underwhelming and honestly forgettable Bruce Wayne. And that's not really his fault because most of the movie, Robert Pattinson is in the Batman suit. This is hardly Bruce Wayne's story. It's more Batman. And I think it's really cool. I mean, he looks great in the costume. His voice is menacing without sounding forced. And much like with Ben Affleck, he's got a fantastic chin for Batman. Like, he's just a really great Batman. But considering how Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight movies really drew attention to Bruce Wayne and showed us how important he is in Batman's life, I was a little let down by Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, not Batman. Jeffrey Wright makes for a really great Jim Gordon, and I love how more than any other Batman movie before, he and Batman are really a dynamic duo. They're a team trying to solve this mystery. Colin Farrell is so good as the Penguin, and thanks to the great makeup job, he is unrecognizable. I keep forgetting, and I'm sure everyone said this, keep forgetting that that's Colin Farrell, just because the makeup job is so good. And then Paul Dano makes for a fantastic Riddler. I won't say any more than that. And the point where the movie picks up for me is when we're first introduced to the Batmobile, which is pretty much just a car with a rocket attached to the back. Nothing too spectacular, but considering this is only year 2 Batman, it works. And that car chase is exciting. It's the real turning point in the movie for me because, again, I thought the first half was really quite boring and just featured a lot of tropes we've seen in other Batman movies, but not done as well. But that car chase really kicked off the rest of the movie for me. From that point on, I thought the movie was more intense, more engaging, more exciting, and I just found myself more invested in what was going on. And by the time we got to the end of it, I found myself really satisfied with how this movie ends, what they do with Batman as a character, and what they could potentially do with the future for this series. So even though I started out this review on a negative note, I don't want you to think that I dislike this movie. Far from it. I just wasn't super excited going into it. And even then, I don't think it's one of the best Batman movies out there. If I were to rank all the Batman movies, if we're counting his appearances in Batman vs. Superman and Justice League, this is my 5th favorite. I like this better than, well, obviously Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman vs. Superman, and The Dark Knight Rises, but I think Lego Batman, Batman Begins, Batman 1989, and The Dark Knight are the superior Batman movies. But this one has a lot going for it as well. The cast is spectacular. Greg Fraser's cinematography is gorgeous. I love the look of this Gotham City where it feels grounded but also has a comic book look to it. Michael Giacchino's score is fantastic, and it's so good to hear a Batman score that finally gets away from the Hans Zimmer sound, because as great of a composer as Tom Holkenborg is, the work he did for Batman vs. Superman and the score he did for Justice League, Zack Snyder's, felt very much like Hans Zimmer, to the point where it was indistinguishable. So I'm glad that Michael Giacchino came in and gave us another great and different sounding Batman score. As a rating, I would say it's worth seeing in your lifetime. Again, it's a 3-hour long movie, and I think the first hour is pretty boring, but the last 2 hours of the movie is great. It's not a movie that I'm gonna rush out and see again in theaters. I'm probably gonna wait till HBO Max or Blu-ray. And unlike The Dark Knight, there's nothing in this movie that made me super pumped to see it again. Because I remember walking out of The Dark Knight thinking to myself, I need to see that again because that is such a brilliant movie. This movie, I thought, it's really good, but because of that first hour and because of the length of the film, I'm probably just gonna wait till it comes out on Blu-ray. It's a really, really good movie at the end of the day, but it's not one that I would want to watch over and over again. And there you go, that's my review for The Batman. I hope you enjoyed it, and now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for The Batman. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. Go check out my theme park channel and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.